Hey, I'm Jeff with Balloon Suite, and today we're talking about helium. Helium, 2020, 2021, 2022 has been a massive challenge for balloon decor businesses. As we're, right now it's 2023, we're looking ahead to 2024. There's really three different things that helium as a code word in your business might really be representing, and I want to talk about those three things because as an owner, right? I'm an owner in my business, you're an owner in your business. As an owner, it's our job to look at the biggest problem in our business and to fix it. That's our job. We just do that over and over again, right? And what happens when we do that is we grow and we grow and we grow. So if right now you're looking at your business and you're looking at helium and you're like, helium is number one, like helium is the biggest problem in my business, I just want to take a couple minutes and give you some tools and resources and ways to think about helium so that you can overcome this problem. So I'm going to start by telling you basically the three things that when we say helium that we might mean when we're talking about the biggest problem in our business. And then we'll just talk for a couple minutes about each of those three. And you've got this big old article here that you can look at as well on the blog in balloonsuite.com that gives you some more information even beyond what I'm going to cover here in the video, obviously. So when we say helium in our business, there's really three things that helium most likely means. You might be in a market where literally you cannot source helium, or you might be in a situation where your particular supplier does not have enough supply to give you helium. We saw a lot of that in 2021, 2022. As we're in 2023 now and moving on into beyond, we're not seeing that as much. But helium as a number one problem in a balloon decor business can certainly be not being able to get helium from your existing supplier. Another thing that helium can really represent is really the need to change prices. Helium in 2015 and helium in 2025 are going to cost a completely different amount. Helium is a byproduct of oil production here if you're in the United States. And so pricing and markets adjust substantially based on how much oil is coming out of the ground in the United States. And so, the price of helium in 2023 is up like 4 or 5x compared to the price in 2015, right? For example. So helium might be a discussion about pricing. There's another kind of aspect of that. It's kind of related to pricing. It's really that it might be time for designs to change. The actual decor you're creating, it might be time to move away from using as much helium. So, given higher pricing, given what might be limited supply, it might be time to adjust designs so that they simply use less helium and you're not relying on the helium for the structure of your creation for this client. So those are the three things we're going to talk about real quick. So let's hop into number one. Number one is literally, I cannot get helium from my supplier. If this is a problem you are facing, then I encourage you to head straight for Google and go find alternate suppliers and add additional suppliers to your list. We don't need one supplier, right? Generally in business, we want to have more than one way to get everything done. So if you're in a situation right now where you're using a welding supply company, for example, as your helium supplier, and you've called to get a tank of helium and they're like, we don't have any for you right now. It's time to go find another supplier. Google's your friend. You can literally search and find other businesses that will supply helium. There's a hierarchy here, right? You're probably not going to actually get to work with the helium distributor. You'll have to work with their subsidiary, right? So you'll have to work with the welding supply companies or the chemical supply companies or that sort of thing. So go to Google, do that searching. You'll find alternatives. Just start calling. Let them know you need a tank of helium. Let them know, ask them, maybe you need to go. Maybe the problem with your supplier isn't that they don't have any. Maybe it's that their delivery vehicle's full, and they need you to transport. I'll be honest, I don't even know if you're allowed to transport helium in a private vehicle, as a full-size tank. But if your business is facing helium as its number one challenge and it's a supply problem, go find different suppliers. And if you find different suppliers, but you still have logistics problems now, then go solve that logistics problem. You can do it. Okay, so that's the first one. And I know that for most of you, that's not the core issue right now as I create this video. For most balloon decor businesses right now, as I record this video, when we say that helium is the biggest problem in the business, what we mean is that pricing and the cost of goods has changed. So helium costs 5 times more. And so for me to fill a balloon and tie a string on it and hand it to you, a nice foil of a whale or orca or something, that costs me, 5 times more now. So this is a really simple problem in business, but it can feel like a really hard problem in business. And that is, if the cost of the materials, the cost of the labor, the cost of goods, as we would say, or the cost of revenue, if that has increased because of supply changes, because of simply materials changes, because of the cost of labor in your market, if you want to continue making the same amount of money as profit, then your prices have to increase. You might be in a situation where the cost of some things goes down, in which case you might have the ability to decrease your prices. But when we're talking about helium, we're generally talking about price increases. That's the reality of working with some item of supply. If the cost of balloons goes up, you have the same situation. If the cost of labor goes up, you have the same situation. If the cost of hanging hardware goes up, you have the same situation, right? Your prices need to adjust. I would really, really encourage you to grab a spreadsheet right now and create a cost model for whatever this item is that you're building that needs helium, so that you can see exactly what this costs you to build, so that then you can decide how much of a markup you're going to put on that, so that you can set your retail price. Now, if you're concerned, the person down the street, right, that helium's up 5 times, my customers don't want to pay a price that's like 3 or 4 times more, I can't do that. Well, you kind of have 2 options. One, you can stop selling it because you don't want to ever sell anything at a loss. Or 2, you can just understand that the price is different now, right? The balloon decor competitor that you have in your market, they're facing the exact same situation. So oftentimes helium is about price, because helium is a consumable that you use. It's a piece of inventory that you use in your business, and you need to change your price because your price has changed. Go into that with confidence. Go into that with confidence. If you increase your price and a customer says, well, I don't want to pay that, you can say, okay, that's okay. Go call a competitor, call a party store. That's fine. You don't have to give them their options, but if they don't want to work with you because of your price, that's okay. Now, if no one wants to work with you because of your price, the biggest problem in your business is pricing, right? Not helium. Let's talk about the third item here, which is adjusting your designs. So, in the early 2000s, there were a lot of designs with helium where a helium balloon at the top, or a set of helium balloons at the top, were providing the lift and the structure for the whole design. And what I would encourage you to do, and I'm just going straight to the heart here, it's time to design your creations where you're not using helium structurally, right? There might be places where helium makes sense, but there's going to be many, many more places where helium does not make sense, and you can replace that with air-filled balloons and the structure of what you're creating, right? So instead of a string and something and then things hanging from that, flip it over, make a column, and put your foils, your other decor highlights on the top, right? And now you're using the air-filled balloons to provide the structure that previously you were using helium for. You're not going to be able to get away from helium for every single type of creation you can dream up, because I know you're way more creative than me, and you can see all these creations right now where you're like, but I need helium, Jeff. I get it. I totally get it. But you can shift your designs to use less helium. You can shift your designs to let air-filled balloons and other structural elements provide the structure, and that lets you work around a situation where helium is expensive and I want to move my cost down. You might even find that you're better able to meet your customers' requirements if you don't use helium, or if you rely on less helium. So if you have a customer that comes to you and says, I want this helium-filled thing, if you're trying to reduce the amount of helium you're using, even if you're just trying to do good for that customer, you might kind of zoom out and look at the situation and find that it would be better to actually not use helium, or not use as much. So I encourage you to look at what it takes to reduce the amount of helium in your designs if you're facing helium as the number one challenge in your business. Okay, so there you go. We talked about 3 ways that you can work to address helium if that's the number one problem in your business. If you have another problem, if you solve this one now, my team and I would love to talk to you about the next biggest problem you're facing. Feel free to reach out. We'd love to help. If this has been valuable, please take a minute, hit the like, hit the share. Let someone who needs to hear this, help them hear this, and help them get this resource for their business as well.